Berlin by Bea Setton, published by Doubleday, and obviously this is a novel that is set in Berlin. And I've just returned from a trip to Berlin and I took this book with me, and it gave it a real stereo effect. So I'd go home in the evenings after we'd been out and I would read my book, just before I went to bed, and it really kind of consolidated my experiences that I'd had during the day. It is a very Berlin rich book. You can learn a lot about the city, and if you've been, you will recognise an awful lot of things that she talks about and sets as a backdrop. Most of the novel is set around Neukölln and Kreuzberg, and I think this is a really good novel of Berlin. It's also got a very good story. This is Daphne's story. So Daphne is an academic. She did well at Oxford, but things have gone pear-shaped, and there is some kind of drive for her to go to Berlin and, have a new view of life and some new encounters and just a different stimulation. So she arrives, she gets herself a flat, and she goes out, she meets people, and her main aim is actually to learn German. So she rolls up for a course and meets a few people that way. And I think what the author does really well is there are so many people in Berlin who don't seem to have an obvious source of income. Now, Daphne is supported by her parents. They send her, a bit of a stipend, even though she doesn't have any contact with them. So you can almost see that she, will become part of the fabric of the city if she allows herself so to do. She settles into a rhythm. She does a lot of running, so she runs around the Tempelhofer Feld. She also hooks up with a couple of other people to go running together. She goes to the Hasenheide. She goes to her Späti, which is the local sort of 7-Eleven, as it were. And we gradually learn that she perhaps has a difficult relationship with food. She runs a lot. She doesn't really take care of herself. So it's quite difficult to warm to her right at the beginning. But as the narrative moves along, you actually kind of get a little peek into her world, which is not an easy one. She then finds she has a stalker, and then at sort of like the most difficult point in her life, somebody throws a stone through her window, which absolutely upsets her psychologically. She then goes and moves into another flat, and I think you can see her real kind of psychological difficulties, because the person whose flat it is has gone away for 6 months. She moves in, and there is a lovely aura in this flat. It's a very gentle, welcoming flat, but she soon has a mark on it, and she trails water from the bathroom through the flat, and she doesn't take care of it, and she goes to friends, she eats out of their larders, she eats the most odd things, and so you can see that she is quite a psychologically traumatized woman in some shape or form, and towards the end she has to decide what she's going to do with her life. It is beautifully written, it is very engaging, and to be honest, I think if you have been to Berlin and you just want to keep your experience of Berlin ticking over, then I think Berlin by Bea Setton is certainly one to put on your radar, because it will immerse you in the city and it will just give you a refreshing take on what perhaps you have experienced yourself.